Hey everybody, welcome to another BirdTricks Tuesday. We're here, Dave and Jamie Womack from BirdTricks, where we're talking about 18 foundational failure points that are gonna sound obvious, but they're the basis of why your bird's probably screwed up.
And if you think you don't need them, definitely watch this.
Well, I don't know, but I think we nailed that intro.
Woo!
Yeah, that was great.
You nailed it. I was like, do I participate? Do I not participate? So today we are talking about the topic of getting your bird back in its cage.
Which is important.
Though a lot of people are like, yeah, I got it. You don't got it. If there's ever a struggle, which even with our birds, every once in a while there's a struggle, you need to constantly reevaluate the value of going in the cage, the predictability that you fall under, which you're probably going to hear us talk a lot about in this series, of how predictable you are to your bird, because that's really when we all get into problems.
Really sexy.
I've done some different videos in the past about how we get our birds back in the cage, and there's a few different methods we take, and there's a few different methods that birds make really difficult. One of the ways that I put all of our birds back in the cage, which honestly it doesn't lead me wrong, is hanging the bird up. And it's literally putting the bird back beak first, so it hangs onto the side of the cage, and you can kind of hang up the bird, as I would say, and you can close the cage. Now, I've always found that to work really, really well, because the bird has something to grab onto with its beak, which is an incompatible behavior to being able to bite you instead. However, birds that have just flat out refused this type of method are military macaws.
Oh yeah.
That I've met. Oh man, they just refuse to grip onto the side of the cage. Nope. And not happening.
And shoulder rushers.
And shoulder rushers. So if you have a problem with keeping your bird on your hand in the first place, this method is not gonna work either. I'm trying to think of any other birds that have done that. I've done it successfully with birds and then turned around and watched the owner try to do it.
Yeah,
and seen it not work. There's
a couple of things with it. Momentum is a big part. Intention is a big part.
Yes.
But also understanding, like, why is this a problem if you can't get your bird back in, and then going backwards from there. I mean, obviously, if you need to go someplace, you need your bird to go in the cage. Also, if you can't get your bird in the cage, you have a foundational failure point, because your bird should not view going in the cage as punishment. Your bird should actually look forward to going back to the cage. You know, not so much it doesn't want to be out, but it should be a pretty even balance between wanting to hang out with you for however long is appropriate for that particular bird, and then also wanting to go back.
And it's interesting because I feel like we've seen this trend not only indoors with indoor birds, but outdoor birds too. So birds that have too much freedom. Yeah, not ours.
Ours are like, put us away.
Ours put themselves away, which is hysterical. But, you know, I've seen birds in the home who don't want to go back into the cage, and I've seen free-flighted birds where they're acting out, they're attacking people, they're nipping people, they're you know, destroying people's cars or what have you, and other people are just like, hey, can you put your bird away? And they literally can't. They can't get their bird away. So it's a big thing, and I think that it's something that should be corrected, because it's a big deal, and it makes it so that people that come over and spend time at your home or spend time around your animal, if they feel like it could go to hell in a handbasket real quick, they're not going to want to be around that. I know that I wouldn't personally want to be around that. There's
some people that I love and respect, even as trainers, who have birds that were vicious outside, and it was like, it became really hard to fly with those people because their bird was out of control and they couldn't get the bird to go back when they needed it to. And for me, this all comes down to treat value as well as, you know, your predictability.
Yeah.
For example, with Tusa, he does this, well, he did this in one trip recently where we had our trailer door open and we took him out and we did 2 or 3 days of flying him. And you would think that a bird who loves to be outside, he loves the sunshine, would want to stay outside and enjoy that experience, especially when there's so much high treat value of, you know, his favorite nuts and seeds for doing flights, whether they're short flights or long flights, he would get different treats. Well, during those 2 to 3 days, he had noticed every time we took him out, there was bananas on top of his cage. They weren't for him, they were for me. And so I think he was like, all right, one of these flights, I'm gonna get the banana. I'm gonna get the banana. And then eventually on the 3rd day, he's like, I'm not gonna get the banana. See you later.
Unless I get it myself.
So he went in and he got the banana. We're like, you know, we're laughing as he put himself away, and then he had like downed half a banana, and we're like, oh, okay. So, you know, if you look at that as like, okay, the cage. Why would your bird want to go back in the cage if you're feeding outside of the cage only? Or if all the favorite treats are outside of the cage? Or if the bird hates the cage because it's in front of a window that it can see an eagle's nest? Or, you know, there's a reason why your bird doesn't want to go in the cage. Just like there's reasons why some birds don't want to come out of the cage, right? And so what we want to do is find a healthy balance for that and make it so they want to go back. Like when we're free flying, our birds are either going back because they're tired, and they're just done flying for the day. They're going back because they know they're going to get food, right? They're going to get their, would you be quiet?
Their meal, sorry.
They're going to get their main meal. And so they're just really excited about knowing and anticipating what is coming.
I really feel like our birds go back for 3 reasons. They're tired, they're exhausted, they want to go to sleep. Just kidding.
Well, when we're free flying, that's definitely the case. But, you know, even in the house, too, it's like our birds will be out, and then we find, too, if they come down off the stand and they want to forage, well, they're probably hungry. So that's because we've had them in the house for too long, and they haven't had their main meal for that long, and maybe we didn't do a training session, so they didn't get any extra treats. They're ready for food. So we give them that opportunity to go back in their cage and get the food. So
yeah, and that is one topic. You know, people have seen my macaws be outside, or not even outside, out on the foraging trees that we have around our home. They'll see the macaws just sitting nicely on those for long amounts of time. And the macaws are they're
more
easier.
prone to stay there for a while.
They're easier. They'll stay there. They'll chew on toys. They'll be great. If I tried that with Bondi, you guys, it would be a minute-long video, maybe while she's too wet to get down, but even then, she would find a way, and she would be on the ground, you know, being a ground chicken, as Kim recently called Boomer, but, you know, just looking for all the things to get into. There's some types of, you know, it's species related, and then there's some just personality traits where they're just looking for something to get into. So unless you are actively engaged with that bird while it is out in your home, it's just not going to go well. So understanding that, realizing that, for the most part, I can get quite a bit of time out of my birds for being just comfortable preening and being out after bathing, but for the most part, they need to be actively doing something. Just the other day, Tusa was doing a flight training session with me, and he was super into it. And the second I picked up Comet, which apparently was my signal that I was going to put them away, I picked up Comet first, went to pick up Tusa, and he refused. And he was like, nope, nope, nope. But if I backed away and asked him to fly, he was there. So it's not that he didn't want to be with me or that he was mad at me by any means. He was signaling to me like, I don't want to go away. I want to keep the session going. And so it's really interesting, and I think you need to open your eyes to what your bird might be communicating by saying no to something. When it says no to going back in the camera died.
That's one way to end a tangent.
Yeah. So that's the end of that. But basically the whole point was just that, like, I became predictable without even realizing it. I didn't realize that picking up Comet and going and asking Tusa was an obvious sign that I was going to put them away. Like, now when I think about it, it's super obvious.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was like, wait, what? How'd you know?
So what are your subtle cues that you're accidentally telling your bird to go, that's going to be put away in its cage? And is that cue going to lead to a high value reward or punishment for the bird, right? And understand, again, from Family Friendly, we talk a lot about plus reinforcement, minus reinforcement, and what you think is reinforcement might actually be punishment. It's up to you to recognize it, but it's up to the bird to decide what's reinforcing and what's punishing. And so in this exercise, I want you to be thinking through your daily interactions and what is it that you do that has become a pattern that could be signaling to your bird, hey, you're going to be put back in your cage. For some people, it might be, hey, can you put Tusa away, right? So me approaching after a training session means that I'm the one that's going to be putting the bird away. Well, is my relationship going to end up being better or worse if every time she finishes a high value training session where he's getting lots of treats and I just go interrupt it and I put him away? it's going to damage my relationship. And there's those types of patterns happen all the time. And fortunately, we were able to catch this most of the time, but you know, there's been a few times where these patterns emerge and we have to stop ourselves and say, no, you need to end the session, and then leave that 30% that we're talking about where the bird still wants to get put away. And I guess that was in the shoulder brushing video, if you want to reference that, but as far as the 30% with the helicopter rule, we'll call it. But, you know, leave that purpose, so there's a reinforcement for the bird to go back in its cage.
And I think a really good exercise for everybody to do would be to make a list of maybe 5 to 10 things, 5 to 10 reasons your bird comes out of the cage. 5 to 10 reasons you think your bird comes out of the cage. Why? Why does it want to come out? Reason number 1 might be that you're very consistent with giving a treat. Your relationship is amazing and your bird just enjoys being with you. Your bird loves taking a shower, and 50% of the time that you take it out of the cage, you know it goes to the shower. So these are just some ideas. Maybe your bird just likes being out of the cage. Things like that. So make a list of 5 to 10 reasons you think your bird comes out of the cage. And then make a list of 5 to 10 reasons you think your bird goes back in the cage. And if you need to do the opposite of this and think about why your bird does not want to go back into the cage, I think that would really help you self-analyze what your own routines and things are doing that are setting you up for either success or failure, and remembering to stay on top of them. So even if you're not currently having issues, recognizing what you're doing right, and then extending those to the other family members in your home so that they can also succeed, I think is equally important.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm also going to throw a curveball into that. Now, picture doing those exact things that the bird comes out of the cage because it likes, like you think it likes, and picture doing that at 6 p.m. How does that change everything? Right? So again, going back to, it's up to you to recognize what's reinforcement and what's punishing. Well, if 50% of the time you take the bird out of the cage, you give it a bath, it probably doesn't want a bath at 6 p.m. on a winter night.
No.
Right? So there's these different things that normally would be reinforcing, and that you get in the pattern of like, yeah, my bird likes this. Why doesn't he like it now? Well, it's because it's freaking cold outside, or it's because it's too late for a shower, or it's because he's already had dinner, or whatever these situations are. But I love the list idea, and to really test that idea, think of it again at a different time of the day or a different season and see how that changes, or even with a different bird.
Yeah. So let us know if you guys have success after watching this video with getting your bird out of its cage a little bit easier, or even getting it to go back in, whichever one that you tend to be struggling with at the moment.
Like speaking.
I'm struggling with words, as usual.
Again, guys, our mission is to save parrots one person at a time. So if you're getting value out of this course or any of these lessons or anything we've given you, please help us with this mission and just tell somebody about us. Tell them about BirdTricks. Tell them, share this video with them. Do whatever you can to help do your part in rescuing birds from their owners, right? Because we all are making mistakes, and it's through education that we're able to help make our pet birds' lives better.